With Quantumania about to be released, bringing about the start of Phase 5 and the return of Kang the Conqueror, I thought it was time to revisit Kang's most important moment in the MCU so far.
We just crossed the threshold.
Oh, this moment. This moment has bothered me ever since I first saw it. And I'm not alone. I've seen many videos online trying to figure out exactly what it was that caused this thresholdiness. Some believe it was Wanda becoming the Scarlet Witch. Others seem to think it has something to do with either No Way Home, Multiverse of Madness, or even What If. I don't think it was any of these. I think we were told exactly what changed. More importantly, I think we were told in that episode. Let me explain. At the start of episode 6, Miss Minutes approaches Loki and Sylvie to offer them a chance to rejoin the timeline. Shortly after this, we see her return to Judge Renslayer, who asks, "What took you so long?" This suggests that the TVA and Kang's castle exist in the same moment. Let me just go on a quick tangent to explain what I mean. The TVA and Kang's castle exist outside of the sacred timeline. However, this does not mean that they exist in a timeless state. These places are still subject to cause and effect, seeming to have established histories and their own timeline of events. A timeline that holds both the TVA and Kang's castle. These places exist in two different areas outside of the sacred timeline. This means that actions taken in one place can directly affect the other. Okay, so why does this matter? Well, during the conversation between Loki, Sylvie and Kang, these three characters are essentially inactive and cannot be the cause of the threshold. But the other characters, well, that's another story. Whilst this chat with Kang takes place, Mobius and B-15 attempt to stop the TVA from interfering with the sacred timeline. These efforts allow for the creation of new timelines to emerge. This development certainly plays a part in the threshold. We know this because the forming of new timelines is what we are shown immediately after Kang declares that they have crossed the threshold. To me, however, this doesn't seem to be the cause of the threshold. It feels more like a consequence. What we are interested in is what happens just before the threshold. Which brings us to Judge Renslayer. Shortly after Miss Minutes returns to Renslayer, she gives her a file and then says this.
But he thinks this'll be more useful.
Who?
Happy reading!
The next time we see Renslayer, she is preparing to leave, and whilst Mobius tries to convince her to stay, she remains loyal to the TVA, going as far as to say this.
Free will? Only one person gets free will. The one in charge.
Shortly after, she goes in search of free will and leaves the TVA. It is only after this that Kang states that they have crossed the threshold. I believe that Kang gave Renslayer the information required to trigger the crossing of the threshold. What this information was is impossible to know for sure, but if I were to guess, I think she was given the tools required to find Kang within the timeline. Not only that, but I think he gave her the knowledge required to win the multiversal war before it even begins. You know, I really think Mobius summed this up best.
You weren't born to be king, Loki. You were born to cause pain and suffering and death. That's how it is, that's how it was, that's how it will be. All so that others can achieve their best versions of themselves.
And he was right, because this was not Loki's story. It wasn't even Sylvie's. This was the origin story of Judge Ravonna Renslayer, the only woman Kang the Conqueror ever loved.